Hey guys, I'm really excited because we are back on Dave Ramsey's Total Money Makeover. Alright, so yes, we have some notes on the board. It is a whiteboard video tonight. Now, the whole first part of his book talks about how you can basically hire someone to clean up your mess. You can hire someone to do this, that, and the third for you, but it doesn't change any of your habits, what you did, your actual mess that you made, right? And that's actually why I made the Learn, Prepare, Prevent program that clients can sign up for now, where I do their disputes, I clean up their mess, but they get really awesome information on how to build up their credit and how to build up their score and how to not end up in this mess to begin with. Where did I get this from? I got it from Dave Ramsey's book, okay? Because he's so adamant about it. He says we can't go any further without you understanding that the problem isn't your credit, the problem isn't your finances, the problem isn't your wife or your husband or your kids, the problem isn't your job or your boss, the problem is you. And until you can look in the mirror and say, hey, that dude or that chick or that whoever is the problem, then you're never going to move forward, all right? So tonight we're actually going to look at this cycle, all right? I'm going to show you how you actually get to me, how you get to bad credit, how you get to, just not giving a crap anymore, all right? Because it starts very slowly and it's a snowball, but I'm also going to show you how to get out of it, all right? So I'm going to shut up, we're going to look at the board, and we're going to start right here. It's really simple. So you've been paying on time, you're real happy about it, right? And you're like, life is good. Okay, so we're starting right here. You're paying on time, life is absolutely good, and then something happens, right? You went on vacation, you forgot to pay your Discovery, you didn't have your Chase on, automatic payments, your daughter went to the hospital, and you had to be late on your credit card or your installment loan or your mortgage. So now you have a late payment, and you're like, well, it's one late payment, and I'm not going to do it again. Right? Because you've been paying on time this entire time. Like, it's not going to happen again, right? I mean, what are the chances? Now something else happens. Maybe your other kid goes to the hospital. Maybe you can't afford your kid's tuition. Maybe your husband or your wife leave you and you have to use your credit card because they paid the other half of the rent or the mortgage, or your car died and you had to pay, for a new transmission or something. Actually, just recently happened to me. $3,000. $3,000. That's crazy. $3,000. However, I didn't get stuck in that situation because I have good credit and I had $3,000, okay? So what if you are in this situation and you don't have $3,000 and your car does die and you can't get to work and you work 30 minutes from where you live and there's no bus system? Because I've lived in a place that literally had no bus system, okay? So, like, what do? You're going to walk to work? No, dude. You're going to be late on your credit card or your installment or your mortgage or your loan or whatever because you have to pay that bill. All right, so now you have multiple late. You don't just have one late, you have multiple late. And you're like, well, I was already late once. Another late payment isn't going to hurt me, right? I mean, it's not going to happen again after this. But, I'll catch up, right? So now you went from paying on time when life was good to paying late one time when you're never going to pay again, late. Now you're at multiple late payments and your credit score is dropping, right? But your mentality, your thinking process is starting to change. You get what I'm saying? You're justifying. Okay, so not only are you becoming late, not only are you not paying your bills on time, not only is your credit getting bad, but you're justifying, you are making excuses for yourself, okay? Now, use common sense. What comes after this? What comes after this is now you're late again. Now you can't catch up because you're a bunch of late payments behind because you're so late because you had to pay that transmission or you had to pay, 2 months of rent or mortgage or whatever, and they're like, hey, we're going to kick you out if you don't pay. So now things are starting to, sit on your shoulders more, right? And you're starting to get that feeling of dread in your stomach. You can't really sleep well, and you're thinking about it at work, and maybe you're having to work overtime, and you had to pay it for a babysitter because you couldn't be home to be with your kids after they got home from school because you're working so hard because you're late, right? So now you go to collections, or the account's charged off. just because you went late that one time. All right? So now you're thinking, well, screw it. I'm just gonna, you know, let this go to collections. I'm not gonna pay it. You know what I mean? Like, I can't pay it. I can't pay for it, you know. But when I have a better job, or I get the promotion, or my transmission's fixed, or, you know, or something that you have no control over that's gonna happen in the future, I'll pay it. Right? So as this is happening, your score is going down and your credit's getting worse and you're making excuses for yourself. It's a snowball effect, okay? It's like an addiction. It's like an addiction. For, you know, I'm not judging for any of you who actually know what addiction is like, whether it is, you know, pills or drugs or pornography. It's like that one time was just that one time. And then 2 weeks later, there's another time. And a week later, there's another time. And you're like, well, this isn't an addiction. I'm not in a bad spot, right? No, dude. It's the same thing, okay? You went from once to twice to 3 times to 4 times, and you're making excuses for yourself, okay? So just like in an addiction, you have to retrain your thought process. You have to retrain your emotions. You have to retrain yourself to not do this, because these are habits, okay? So now you're in collections, now the creditors are calling you, now you have not just that, you know, that feeling of like, you know, like guilt or whatever, but I mean, you really are guilty of like not paying your creditors. And when you're not paying your creditors, you are stealing from them. So you could have been a law-abiding citizen your entire life. You never even jaywalked, okay? You didn't get a speeding ticket. I've gotten like a ton of them. You didn't get a speeding ticket. You didn't jaywalk. You didn't do any of that stuff. And now all of a sudden, you're stealing from your creditors, right? Because that's what credit is, okay? These companies aren't giving you this stuff for free. It's not free money. It's not charity, okay? You think that they're that because their insurance is gonna pay for it or something? I mean, like, I hear this stuff all the time, and it's because of bad habits. So now what happens is that you can get a loan, right? You can get a loan, but the APR is sky high. But you're like, you know what? I'm going to get this loan. I'm going to pay off my creditors. My credit is going to be much better. My score is going to go back up, and everything's going to be okay. So new loan with a high APR to pay off collections. But now that money hits your account, or you go and cash that check, and now you got money in your hand. And because you have these bad habits, now these bad spending habits, these bad thinking habits, all these bad habits that you're picking up that are snowballing, you're like, ooh, I got money. Money I didn't have before. I have a transmission that needs to be paid. I have kids that I want to feed. I got formula I need to buy. That computer looks a little bit dusty and want to get another computer. I need 3 screens. I don't need 2 screens. I actually need a 4th. But, you know, that's just me. Now, instead of paying your bills and your creditors and your obligations and actually handling business like a normal person would, right, that does not have these bad habits, now you're off spending that money on stuff that you don't need to be spending it on. And like I said, that APR is through the roof. It is like almost beyond the state maximum, okay? Like, I don't know how they get away with that here in Las Vegas. It's like 500% or something. I was like, what? 500%? It says you're right on their board. It's like, I'll give you $1, but you're going to pay me $500 back for that $1 in like 30 days. Like, what? Anywho, so we got to the, ooh, something shiny part, right? Like, these are my obligations. Ooh, something shiny. Okay, so now what? Now you are going to default on that loan as well. That is going to go to charge off, right? And those people are sharks. They want their money, right? They want their money. They're going to get their money, which now you're starting to think about bankruptcy, credit repair, debt settlement, lawsuits. And what happens is that a lot of you do end up with lawsuits and bankruptcy and having to go through credit repair. And it all started with this one late payment, and you allowed yourself, okay? Nobody else's fault. It's your fault. You allowed yourself to get here, okay? So now we look at the other side of the board. So now you're like, oh crap, I need to do something. So now you're looking at, like I said, bankruptcy. You're calling around. You're on the phone with credit repair companies. You're calling debt settlement companies. You're wondering, can I do this myself? You're looking at credit repair videos. You're looking at my videos. You're looking at everybody's videos. And you're like, oh my God, I have no idea what to do. You are not only ignoring your calls, but you're dreading your mail and you're changing your phone number. And your family and your coworkers are starting to get calls from this, they skip trace you, right? Like even the collection agency that I have, they skip trace people. Obviously, that's how they get your new phone number and your new address and your family members' phone numbers and your work phone number and all that kind of stuff, okay? So now they're calling everybody and everyone's getting pissed off at you, right? And now you really can't sleep at night. Maybe now you're on Xanax and all this other kind of stuff just because you have so much anxiety, okay? So now you don't even want to go home because you're worried about, the process server, right? Like knocking at your door and saying, hey, is Jane Doe there or whatever? Are you Jane Doe? I need you to sign this. Here you go. You're being served, right? And then what happens? Now, loss, okay? What are you going to lose? You're going to lose your car. You're going to lose your house. You're going to lose your apartment. You're going to lose your condo. You're going to lose your job because you can't pay things and you can't afford the transmission and you can't even afford the money to get on a bus if there's a bus in your city, okay? So now you have no way of paying anything and you have all these creditors coming after you and you can't even pay for someone to do your credit and you don't even have the time to learn how to do your own credit or to, claim bankruptcy because obviously that costs money too. Like, what are you supposed to do? What are you supposed to do? This is a cycle. It just goes on and on and on and on. You have to figure out how to break this cycle. Not when you're down here, not when you're here, not when you're here, not when you're here. You need to learn how to break this cycle when you are here, okay? Do late payments happen? Yes, they happen. That's life, okay? Sometimes stuff just gets a little crappy, okay? But you need to know, it's kind of just like stopping, racing thoughts, that sometimes it takes a little bit of training to figure out how to stop those racing thoughts so that you're not up all night and you're not popping pills and you're not drinking beer and then not showing up to work and all that kind of stuff, okay? So there's a lot that goes into this, but the whole point is that the problem is you, okay? My problem was me. A lot of you did see my video about, what I went through, and that was only one part of it. I did come all the way down here, and I did claim bankruptcy, and I did lose my car, and, I lost my apartment. I was paying out of pocket for student loans because I couldn't get a student loan. I couldn't even get financing on a piece of freaking bubble gum, okay? So I know what it's like to be here, and I know what it's like to be in this cycle, and I know what it's like to not know how to end that cycle. But now, I know these things, right? And I'm an expert at what I do, and I can help you with this. So, not only do we need to break this cycle, but we need to retrain ourselves to stop here, okay? So, I'm going to pause the video, and I'm going to just erase the board, write a couple of things, and then I'm going to be right back with you. Don't go anywhere. Alright, so we are back, and as you can see, there's not much on the board behind me, but they are main points that we need to go over, okay? So now you are in a position of pain and feeling hopeless, and you don't know what to do because you're trying to break this cycle, but everything just snowballed to the point where you're just like, who cares? Who cares? Like, what are you going to do, arrest me? I'm going to take my assets I don't have anymore. Like, I lost it all, right? So there's a couple things that we need to do. Obviously, there's a lot that you have to do. But you need to retrain yourself, okay? You need to retrain yourself, your thought process, like I said, and you need to start saying no. Stop saying yes to everything. Stop saying yes to all the shiny baubles and, all that stuff. You want to say no. No, I don't need that right now. Maybe sometime in the future I can get it, but I don't need that right now. I don't need to buy 4 pairs of pants, right? I don't need to buy 17 shirts. I don't need to buy a new car. I don't need to lease something. I don't need to own anything new. What I need to do is clean up my mess, okay? So that brings us down to improvement and new opportunity, right? So you can continue doing what you're doing and get the same results, or you can try something new. All right. So especially if you've been doing this whole credit repair thing and credit restoration, and maybe you're in a debt settlement program and you're still in the same position you were before and it's been a year and all that kind of stuff, you need to try something new. So we don't want to improve the situation. We don't want to, improve the current program that we're in. You don't want to improve the same thing that you've been doing, because that is the definition of insanity. And you've heard me say this before, but the definition of insanity is continuing to do the same thing over and over and over, but you're expecting different results. It just doesn't work like that, okay? It does not work like that. What you need to do is something new. So not only do you have to retrain yourself and your thought process and your emotions and everything, and you need to start saying no, right? We're going to cross out the yes, and we are going to say no. But you also need to drop the process of improvement, and you need to do something new, okay? So something new, what would something new be? That would be either a credit sweep, or that would be dropping everything and going into hiding somewhere like in the Badlands, or like North Dakota, because like who the heck lives in North Dakota, or like going to Alaska or Siberia or something. You could do that too for like 7 years. You wait out the statute of limitations for your creditors. So I may be kidding about that, but you always have options. There's options. There's, even when it looks like there's literally only one option in front of you, you always have multiple options. If you only see a door and a window, you can bash a hole through the ceiling and go through the ceiling or the wall, okay? So anywho, tangent here. So if you go with the credit sweep, then you have not only one option, but there's also other things that come with it, right? Such as raising your score, building out or up your credit, and then preventing this from happening again, okay? So yes, this is only one part of Dave Ramsey's Total Money Makeover, but it's so important, and this is why he started the book with it. Because remember, the problem is us. And I'm not even going to say you anymore. The problem is us, and we need to fix that first, okay? And when we do that, we can change our situation and we can move forward. I went from having absolutely everything to absolutely nothing to having way more than I ever did. And it's because I took a chance with a new opportunity, and I stopped doing what I was currently doing over and over and over again, expecting different results, all right? So when you do a credit sweep, like I said, you can raise your score, build out your credit, and prevent this from happening again. So I created a program called Learn, Prepare, Prevent. No, this is not a infomercial. This is not a sales pitch. I actually don't have a sales pitch because I am not a salesperson. I just help people, as you can see. All right, I'm saying this stuff off the top of my head. I am not looking at a script. I am looking right into the camera, all right? So I created a program. And this is just an example, okay, where I'm going to not only do the disputes, I'm cleaning up someone's mess that they made, right? That's what it is. It's a sweep. I am sweeping up the mess that these people made, right? But I'm also teaching them to do all this stuff, right? Raising the score, building up their credit, and I'm helping them to not get there again. That's why it's called Learn, Prepare, Prevent. Educate yourself and learn what you need to, so that you don't end up doing this again. You don't end up in that avalanche, that snowball effect, okay? So step number one is what? I am the problem. Not my credit, not my job, not my children, not my husband, not my wife, not my girlfriend, not my boyfriend, not my boss, not my whatever. If it doesn't say like the problem is me at the end, if you're not interjecting yourself into it, then you still have not changed and you haven't realized that you are the problem. Step number one, I am the problem. Step number two, I'm going to clean up my mess with a new opportunity, with a credit sweep, okay? I'm going to raise my scores, build up my credit, and prevent this happening again. And then step number three, learn, prepare, prevent, okay? So there are many ways that this can actually be accomplished, right? But the entire point is that where we need to start is with realizing that there's a problem, okay? Realizing it, taking responsibility for it, and then we can move on from there. All right, so the next video is going to be coming either tomorrow or possibly the day after. Yes, we do have another webinar on Friday, but this video was targeted to helping you understand that there is a thought process to this that we need to change, all right? And when I say we, it's me and you, because I've been through this myself. And if I hadn't been through this, and it's not just about reading a book and being, you know, just one chapter ahead of somebody, right? It's actually having experienced this myself in such a bad way that I still have not met anybody or taken on any client in the past 10 years that had worse credit than me. Once again, I have not taken on a client that had worse credit than me, okay? So I'm actually creating a new, just as a side note, I'm actually creating a deletion and scoreboard. So the top 10% deletion and scoreboard, where I'm actually going to show my credit report, where I started, and 2.5 months later, yes, that's all it took, 2.5 months later, all of my 450 collections and bankruptcies and charge-offs were gone. Okay, and that's why I do what I do, because I have been there. I've experienced the pain. I learned how to fix it. I fixed myself and my process and my thinking and my habits, and then I wanted to help other people. So if this is kind of where you are right now, then, you know, there is hope. There is a way to get out of it, and the door is right here. All you have to do is open it. So I have some homework for you. I want you to think about how you have been not accepting responsibility, right? I'm not trying to put like the whole pain thing on you, but once again, we're trying to accept responsibility here, and it doesn't need to happen overnight, and you don't need to leave nasty comments, because if you were so perfect, you wouldn't be landing on my video, right? Something's wrong with your credit. Okay, so accept the responsibility. That's what I want you guys to do this week, this weekend, and write down a couple of your options. I don't care if you were at the bottom, if you were, you know, debt settlement, bankruptcy, lawsuits, all that kind of stuff, because once again, I am here and I have experienced all of those things, except for the debt settlement. I did have lawsuits against me, and I was in bankruptcy, and, you know, people were coming after me, and I changed my phone number, and I even left home because I couldn't deal with it. It was just too freaking much. People knocking on the door saying, hey, you know, we're gonna sue you and all this kind of crap. So anywho, yes, I go out on many tangents, but that's because there's 1,000 things occurring in my head at the same time. So we're going to learn to break the cycle together, and I hope this video in some way, shape, or form helped you. All right, so I will see you guys later. Bye.